For 70 years, Somaru Sharif has lived in Beliman, one of 4 communities said to be in danger by industrial activities at the Liberian Cement Corporation. Also known as Cemenco, the corporation has operated in Liberia for 52 years and has monopoly of cement sale in this country.
Beliman was here before Cemenco. The Beliman family gave the land to Cemenco.
Sharif, a father to 8 children, has been diagnosed with cataracts in his eyes. He says this is due to cement pollution directly affecting his home. The home he speaks of is one of the 3 oldest built in Beliman long before Cemenco started operations.
More than 60 years in Beliman here, with the phone of Beliman.
The crack on his walls, Sherry says, is due to constant vibration from Cemenco's industrial machines.
When the machine work completely, when I get up in the morning, my heart had to drink milk before I can come to myself. But at time when the machine work, even they was this year on my I can't see good.
Like Sharif, 25 years Miata has lived in the same community. She is an asthma patient and says she cannot access a home when the machines are operating. Her husband has been diagnosed with a respiratory illness, but Miata cannot confirm if it is as a result of the waste disposal and pollution from Cemenco.
When you hear that dust for 2 your whole chest can be going, and that smell does make your throat bitter. Affecting, or even you go in the room, say you shake the room, the dust will still come outside. Especially as dry season, we can suffer. Because the ring and reduce it small. But the dry season, they don't reduce it. There's another 9 o'clock, if they put all that machine on, you can go inside. If you go inside, the dust will be in the room.
Ambulai Dugley was reportedly born on a cloud of billowing cement dust. He has now taken up the challenge to change the story for residents of the 4 communities: Beliman, Sawmill, Jamaica Road, and Bassetown community.
The year 2005, the pollution from Cemenco was kind of heavy. All in our house and the neighbors that are there, people were slowly dying, getting blind and dying. So I observed this thing, I decided to make a follow-up on it. Only to realize that the management told us that they were going to do something about it from one thing to another. But they never did anything, so I decided to take up the issue. I was just the ministry during the time of Cabinet Janen's administration. They invited the manager of Cemenco, who was Mr. Walways at the time, the German chancellor that they had there. Then Theo Matthew William was there for administration at Cemenco. They carried Theo at the Ministry of Justice, and they appealed, they apologized. Councillor Unity Tuan went there to talk on his behalf. They admitted, yes, the pollution was heavy, and that they were going to build a new plant. They were going to demolish the old plant and build a new one.
Douglas tells us he was diagnosed with lung disease and sinus infection in 2015 and blames the high levels of pollution from the cement plant. He had to travel to neighboring Guinea in 2018 to seek medical attention because there was no treatment for his condition in Liberia.
I ended up going to Conakry, Guinea, because they don't have the instruments and I needed an operation. I took the operation in Yansidi Hospital. There was a growth that was in my throat that came through the nose. I couldn't breathe. In the night, I got to open my mouth like this before I can breathe.
Upon his return to Liberia, Douglas says he fled from the home he owned just to save his family from Cemenco.
Down to my father, the late Alhaji Mamadi Douglas, an engineer. The old man got blind before he died. Old man by my family. Now in the Val quarter there in Bedema community, you can go and make a research, go and ask. The old man got blind too before he died. Quite recently again, another old man again, Mamadou Sharif, he got blind again before he died. Sharif, another Sharif again, Miata Sharif, the old lady, they all were brought here to Corpus Clinic, the eye section, to check their eyes. The division is there. Semolu Sharif, Semolu Salif, now in Bedema there too, he got eye problem. So the thing was getting so severe, I had to find my refuge in Brewerville. They're where I am now presently.
The marker lives in Fatu Sheriff Yard at Grey, a house also enveloped by grey cement dust. She said her family has been forced to cope with chewing cement when cooking and eating. Fatu and her spouse are now experiencing complications of their eyesight. Also affected is her daughter, who is an asthma patient and has suffered too long with the cement dust, Fatu says.
I just see too clear. They see as my asthma too. Because you experience the day when you send us another when you rub your eye, they can feel the same. As small thing you can feel it. The asthma that doesn't heat. Okay. So when transit that reach, you are down the visit, you get ready to go and they let go too. But at least the cope I can be living already than the dust. Because dust not in here, again now.
Dr. Emmanuel K. Ikeneba, president of Liberia Medical and Dental Council, gives us his perspective.
Whenever you use anything that goes in the environment, the tendency for pollution is high. So cement, being made of a lot of chemicals, and there are different types of cement, can cause a lot of problems. The degree of pollution depends on the amount of substance, the exposure. So it can be both for the people that handle it and also those that are in the vicinity. Whenever you are exposed to substance like cement, there are two things you can have. You have what they call irritation. That means your skin gets irritated. Or some people can be allergic to it. And that irritation can be on the skin, or it can also go in the eyes. So people that handle cement, because it has a dust-like characteristic, should wear safety goggles, and the exposure should be timed. So I don't know. Usually what is recommended from the medical point of view is all those handling those kind of substances should have regular checkup where they check them regularly.
Dugley recalls a document presented by former District 13 lawmaker, now Masurado Senator Sir Joseph, instructing community members to sign what appeared to be a guide for Cemenco to a bad part as its corporate social responsibilities.
Sir Joseph, the senator now for District 13 at that time, you called me at the Capitol Bill. I said, I'm going nowhere. Then that was the time they fixed this document. Sir Joseph, the one that prepared this document, how they should build a clinic. It listed out here. They should see about medical services for vulnerable elders, outpatient. The ages of 65 and above, the drainage system, public latrine and sanitation, community clinic to cater to the health needs of all of the residents.
However, Senator Joseph denies being a party to the signing of such a document. He said there was a previous document done by Cemenco for residents to sign, and he was told to stay away from the process and allow the communities to take on their battle with the company. The Masurado senator added that now there is no record that the communities are being polluted because the promises made by Cemenco were all fulfilled.
Now the community decided that they want to engage Cemenco positively to have other discussion with them. So they did this, and this is what they got. In fact, this was done in my absence. No, it was done to Cemenco, everything was done. And they implemented everything. It was for 1 year. But then I was representative for District 13. Now I'm a senator of Masurado County. I did not do it as a senator. It was done when I was representative in District number 13. When you are wholly responsible or based on your implementation and your tenure, my programs were for a yearly. In fact, if you look at that, it was done on a yearly basis. And then it's renewable based on the circumstances that come around. So the first year, Cemenco lived by it. It was basically what the community wanted. They were asking for drainages. They wanted, they needed some work for people to work around. And one of the major challenges by them was the water situation, the cleaning of the drainage. Okay. Yeah, so that one of the greater challenges by them. And then, but then also they have the cleaning of the cement dust. But then you couldn't work in Cemenco. The dust was very hard. So it was based on that one. We had that dialogue with Cemenco. That's how they changed the entire mill. They faced in the new mill, which they spent up to 50 million.
When pressed for further comment, Senator Joseph could not name the promises Cemenco made with the communities. But a document titled Community Resolution for Priority Development Agenda dated September 6, 2013 shows that Cemenco was to provide university scholarships for 5 students in each of the 4 communities alongside 30 existing scholarships. Cemenco was to oversee 200 students from each community for high school scholarships, jobs for the people, and medical services for vulnerable adults aged 65 years and above. The company was also to fix drainage system and bridges, construct public toilets, sanitation, as well as construct a community clinic. Sawmill, Jamaica Road, and Bassatown communities are noted as signatories to this deal, but Bellyman is not named. This fact is corroborated by Dugley, who said his community did not sign.
If you can see the document here, we refused Belema community to sign that day, Sir Joseph. You can see a Belema community didn't sign. The document here. All the other ones need to sign.
Cemenco was established in 1968 and is a subsidiary of Heidelberg Cement, one of the world's largest building materials companies. When our reporters visited Cemenco's offices for an interview, a security guard named Bill Tober instructed us to wait. But 10 minutes later, he returned saying his boss was not around and no one was available to speak to us. Emails were also sent on August 18 and September 16 to Cemenco administrators Robert Marshall and Nathaniel Pritchard, but neither of them replied. The Environmental Protection Agency is a regulatory authority that monitors pollution and waste in Liberia, but John Jala, manager of compliance and enforcement at the EPA, says there has been only one complaint from Ambula Dugley in 2016.
Ambula Dugley complained that basically he has been inhaling cement fiber. Pollution is a situation wherein that when the environment is being compromised and the human health is threatened, and wherein that the human it beyond the human tolerant limit, we consider that to be pollution as per that particular individual. When we speak about water quality pollution, we also, every time you talk about pollution, you got to measure with standard. So if and only if a Cemenco is emitting and the person's health is exposed beyond the tolerable limit, we will say that obviously the pollution, the person is being impacted from that pollution. So with Mr. Ambula Dugley, like I told you about, the investigation our team conducted, in terms of the exposure limit, the reports are very clear. Considering the current improvement of Cemenco, I wouldn't say that there's a pollution in Belema country, except a situation wherein that there were maybe a cement truck traveling, and because as part of the environmental measure, we told them even when they are carrying on as part of the compliance process, when they are transporting their cement, they got to ensure that the whatever they have, their product needs to be appropriately contained. So the possibility exists that if there's a truck incident where there's an accident and those stuff emit, then you will say so. But with the current continuous system, and one will say that Cemenco, the entire 4 community is polluted, from a scientific standpoint, I think there will be at some level of exaggeration until we go there and do a proper investigation. Yes. Basically, we will attach health risks to the specific kind of pollution, because there are specific pollution when you are exposed to, for example, like we're talking about cement, of course you will have respiratory tract diseases, right? Cancer and other things. So in terms of someone who will be exposed to such a pollution, let's say for a week or a month time, there are specific in terms of health risks that are associated with it. But wouldn't that say the entire 4 communities they're being attached to the health risks, though, when you have not identified that the area is or investigated that the area is polluted in the first place.
Jala claims that a settlement was reached between Ambula Dugley and Cemenco. He, however, could not confirm nor deny what incidences of pollution are present in the 4 communities close to Cemenco, but Dugley dismissed these claims of a settlement with Cemenco.
After the last meeting we had at EPA, with Brown, along with Jala, all of them were in our meeting there. Then Nathaniel he went there, the health and safety man. He went there to represent Cemenco. He went there. So they said I should wait until Honorable could come back. The Honorable could come back, Nathaniel Blama, till he returned. It was just in time the virus began came about. So up to now, I've not heard anything yet from them.
In December 2015, Global Cement magazine published an article online about chemical waste being disposed of by Cemenco during the demolition of its former cement plant. Residents of adjacent communities have reportedly complained that the demolition was a serious threat to human lives. The company's General Services Manager, James D. Gibson, had told Global Cement that Cemenco is primarily a grinding plant and not an integrated plant. He said that the cement from its old plant was caked or baked cement, which has no asbestos and therefore posed no health risks to communities and residents. In 2013, the Liberian government, through the Independent National Commission on Human Rights, said it was preparing to take legal action against Cemenco for allegations of pollution from its operations in Monrovia. James Storr, a commissioner at INCHR, was the man charged with leading the investigations. We have completed all medical examinations on dozens of residents in Belima community. Doctors have established that indeed the cement dust being produced by the company is responsible for their disability and lung infections, said INCHR Commissioner James D. Toll. That same year in 2013, the mortuary superintendent requested a relocation of Cemenco factory in a bid to save the 4 communities. Yet, 7 years later, in 2020, residents of Bellyman, Sawmill, Jamaica Road, and Bassotown say they remain victims of constant inhalation of cement and associated pollution from Cemenco. According to the respective chairmen of those areas, there are approximately 2,500 residents in each community. It appears all the people are requesting for one thing: medical welfare, either by the construction of clinic or comprehensive health insurance from Cemenco. There is also the added threat of COVID-19 virus, which results in a respiratory disease that has proved fatal worldwide. It is therefore unknown to what extent these conditions will continue to wreak havoc on the lungs, chest, and bodies of residents in these 4 communities whose only crime appears to be living in the wrong place at the wrong time.